Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's get started.
Straight from New York, yo, this handsome man, yo.
Now tuned in to Aljo, the funk master. Watch your grill, you'll get knocked out cold fast. And talking shit, now we talking facts. Whether mount or off the back, you in trouble, came to burst your bubble. I don't shelter punches, they find home on your mind about the double. This the weekly scraps. You don't need a map, GPS, I'm right here to lead it that. The world doesn't know it needs, but I grow disease, planet fuck a name and the fame. Only legacy remains. Remember the name, Aljamain Sterling.
It ain't safe,
motherfuckers.
I just want to say a big shout out to my beautiful girlfriend who's helped me out a ton. She does a lot for me, goes out of her way to make everything possible for me to have, and just want to give a special shout out to her. And my stomach actually has been killing me for the past 2 weeks, and this morning, stuck in the bathroom, and she went out of her way, and she definitely did not need to do this at all right now, and to go get me some stuff to help make me feel better. So definitely a big special thank you to her. I love you, baby. I love you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps, episode 97. It's been a fun week, a lot of training, a lot of good stuff going on right now. I'm pretty pumped about the fights last weekend. Obviously, we got these big fights coming up this weekend, but last week we had some really good fights. There was 14 fights in the card. I was actually really surprised that just about every single one of them lived up to the hype, and they all delivered. Actually, there wasn't a ton of hype, but they delivered for the most part. The main event was kind of what we expected, just based on the fight styles of Mr. Colby and Tyron Woodley's past performances as well. So that's kind of what I kind of predicted might happen, but it is what it is. They were still a fun fight just based on the bad blood, and I'm just kind of glad it's over and done with at this point. So other than that, as you can see, this is my original podcast studio setup. So I am back in New York for a short stay. Came back to see the lady. Just, I had to come take care of some business and see the lady, So I had to get some stuff done and organized at the house. There was a lot of chaos going on in here. So when I came home, there was a lot of cleaning up that needed to be done. Shame on you, Steve, Mitch, and Nick, you have your own space upstairs. So, but Steve and Mitch we had to have a good family talking to. But other than that, everything else is pretty good right now. I had to install this coffee table, brand new coffee table, which is now for the mic and everything. So everything's good so far on the up and up. I got to get the basement set up for the Airbnb, and I got to get a new lock for the door. Just a couple of things I got to upgrade and get everything in order so that everything is A-okay and smooth running. So other than that, I've taken a few days off because my neck's been freaking killing me. But when I get back, I'm going to get back to PT and get back to my lifting regime and really get this, really try to figure out what the hell's going on, because I don't really understand this. It's just this pinching pain that's coming down my arm, like through the pec, all the way down to my fingertips. If I look back, like do one of those chin tucks, it's like a really sharp shooting pain all the way down through the neck, pectoral, bicep, fingertips. Very, very weird. I'm not sure what to do about that, but it is what it is. I'm sorry about last week. I missed a podcast. I just been really busy. Buying a house, trying to get everything up and running, and taking care of all my other stuff that I need to do outside of that. Very, very difficult. Not as easy as it may seem. So that's where I'm at right now with everything. And other than that, that's really it. There's not much more else to say, So I'm just hoping we can get back on track, get back to feeling good, looking good, and all that stuff. I did get to watch some tape last night and break down one fight in particular of Peter Yan versus Jimmy Rivera. Fun fight. definitely some stuff that I feel I can utilize and take advantage of. I'm excited about that fight. I'm just waiting for them to figure everything out so we can get this officially marked down in the books so that I know, yes, we can start our campaign and get everything on up and up with like Jamaica and stuff like that so that we can really start pushing the narrative. First Jamaican UFC champion. Let's motherfucking go! And yes, I was born in the U.S., but I was raised with a Jamaican background and heritage and culture intact. Jamaican household, not American cultures and stuff like that. So pretty much the same Jamaican stuff that I would have had back home. I was just raised with it up here in the States, and I just had American friends. And yeah, born in America. Still a proud American, but definitely proud first generation Jamaican American. So yeah, that's where I'm at with all that. I don't know why people give me shit for that. Like this country isn't a melting pot of multiple cultures and wasn't found on immigration and people who are not from here. Like I don't know. I don't get it. But it is what it is. Quick recap of the fights this past weekend. Now, the first one of the night, Tyson Nam comes back again and does a repeat with a knockout KO over Jerome Rivera. Same way he hit it on Zaruk, a guy who trains out here in New York. So he throws the inside leg kick, and he was looking for it all night. Tyson Nam's output is very, very minimal. Now, he just stalks, walks you down. He pulls out that jab, and that right hand is cocked, just ready to rip and go. So as Jerome throws the kick, he whips a couple of those right hands, comes up short, lands a couple, starts to go to the body, gets eaten up with a couple of leg kicks, Tyson Nam does, and then eventually starts to address it and then says, you know what, I'm going to start throwing my own leg kicks. He starts to kick Jerome back, hits Rivera a couple of times with those calf kicks, and then eventually, as soon as that second round starts, he comes out, he finds the target, right hand, right on the chin, puts him down, follows up with a couple of strikes, gets up. I don't know what happened, you know. This is just what he does, man. You throw that inside leg kick, just beware that he is coming back with a vicious right hand with a lot of heat on it, and you have to make sure your head is off the center line. And when you're an orthodox versus southpaw, it's a lot easier. You throw that inside leg kick, yeah, you might have tripped me up, but I'm still coming forward and lunging with that cross, and I'm right in line. It's almost like you throw an inside leg kick and I go bang down the middle, but instead this one he came like over the top, and then he tried to throw a couple of straights. It came up just shy. This one, I just think he was just a little bit closer than Rivera might have anticipated, and that time he miscalculated his judgment on the distance, and he was a much taller fighter too. I want to say about like 4 or maybe 5 inches, and just like that, all it takes is just 1 inch of being in the wrong position, the wrong spot, and you can get got. Anybody can get it. Anybody. Next fight, Andre Ewell versus Erwin Rivera. I watched only a round of this fight, and I thought Ewell was looking phenomenal the first round. And then the second and third round, I didn't get to catch up on those. But I did see that it was a split decision win. It was a fun fight from what I got to see, but there were so many fights, it was really hard to catch up on every single one. Just, like I said, I've been very, very busy. So for me to even make that effort to catch up on half these fights were great because I was on the road traveling and doing some stuff. So I got to get everything done for the most part. And like I said, this fight was a fun fight. I'm going to have to try to go back and watch rounds 2 and 3. And, I just like to keep my eye on the competition because you never know who's going to come up, who's going to stick around, and who may potentially be a future opponent for either myself or a teammate. So that's just kind of the way I am when it comes to watching guys at 125, 35, and 145 because they could all be potential opponents for me in the future or my team. The next one, Randy Costa versus Journey Newson. This was a fun one. Head kick KO. Came in. Boom. Phantom. Boom. TJ Dillashaw status. Beak. Head kick slipped right into it. Put him down. 41 seconds. Not that much time to really break down much of anything other than he threw the punch. He slipped it. Slipped right into the head kick. Put him out. And that was nasty. Celebration, he bugged out. I love it.
And, he said, no one wants to see people fighting in a pandemic or just fighting in general, and they're going out there to cuddle for 15 minutes. He said, guys want to see people get knocked out. They want to see people get punched. They want to see people get hurt or submitted. That's what people are throwing in their money or putting their time in to see. So he's 100% right about that. And, again, that was a good fight, fun fight to watch. Randy Costa, I do think he's on a 2-fight winning streak now. He knocked out Boston Salmon in ESPN 6 in round 1 in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And now this one, he comes back with a knockout in the first round in 41 seconds. Before that, he lost to Brandon Davis, rear naked choke in round 2. But you can see how much, I don't want to say how much improvements he's making, but you can see that he's a finisher, man. He's got KO, his debut, KO, head kick KO, body shots KO, punches KO. He lost by finish and came back with 2 more KO. So he's a 100% finishing rate in his pro career. I want to say he's about, what does it say, his height? He's a pretty tall person for this weight. He's 5'9", yeah. 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. If you look at him, very slender with the torso, skinnier legs. But he's got these long dangly arms. They say that about me, but I'm 71. He's 73. Put that in perspective. So, yeah, if he gets a little bit more tightened up with everything, his ground game, I think Randy Costa could be a huge threat to this bantamweight division, in my personal opinion. I like him. I think he's good. I think he's got power. I think he's got the length, the height, which makes him difficult to deal with in space. And if he learns how to, sprawl and keep the fight standing, he could definitely pose a lot of problems for a lot of guys at this weight class. That's why, for me, I love grappling, because that is the X factor and can really change a lot of things in the fight. But again, congratulations to him. Big knockout win over Journey Newson, who's only 2 fights into his UFC stint, and he's on a 2-fight losing skid right now to Ricardo Ramos by decision. No contest to Domingo Pilarte, overhand right, and now a loss to Randy Costa. So rough UFC stint for him. He needs to either make this next one a big one, if the UFC even keeps him around at this point. But hopefully something, I hate seeing people lose their job, so we'll see what happens with that. Next up, Darrick Minner versus TJ Laramie. Now, this fight was fun because Laramie just came off of a big finish over Daniel Swain on the Contender Series, got signed, made a quick turnaround, comes back to fight Darrick Minner, and I thought Laramie was going to get it done. I didn't realize how good Darrick Minner was of a grappler. Now, he's 25-11, and a lot of his wins have come by chokes. So right here you see TJ Laramie, guillotine choke. You see he lost by rear naked choke to Grant Dawson. That was at 155, I believe. If I remember correctly. Charlie Dubray, that's a choke, triangle choke. He lost to Herbert Burns by triangle choke. He finished collared by rear naked choke. He lost by elbows to Kroom, who just got signed. Beat Joey Diaz, rear naked choke. Armbar finish to Jordan Griffin. Guillotine choke, triangle, armbar, guillotine, triangle choke, barbell choke. Armbar, guillotine. So he's a finisher. He's a submission specialist, but it seems like he either catches guys or he gets caught. Either way, he's a finisher. I did not expect that, but you can see him when he was against the cage, looking over at his corner, making these, I don't say making these faces, but kind of like signaling to his corner like, yeah, I got this. And the only other person I could think of that has that type of ability in terms of like when they get their hands around their neck, they know they got the choke, is a Brian Kelleher. Brian Kelleher is that good when he gets his hands around your neck. He just knows his guillotine is on. He just needs to get that, his forearm under the neck. He locks his hands, and that's pretty much as good as done. If anybody gets caught in that Brian Kelleher guillotine, I have been caught in it a couple of times when I was coming up with him on the regional circuit, and not fun. Not fun to be with. So now that I know that anytime we're grappling and I shoot in, and I know if I don't cut the corner right away, I bail or I'm making sure I'm rolling to get the fuck out of there because that grip is tight. And this head and all his body squeezing and putting all his weight into, nah, I'm good on that. I already just talked about how much my neck is already killing me. I'm
I'm good on that. I don't need to keep playing around with that type of stuff in training. But Derek Minor looks over his corner, 52 seconds in the first round, sees that he's got this shit locked up, goes for the submission, goes for the kill, and gets it done. Just want to let you guys know that this is brought to you guys by DraftKings. Go check those guys out. Use my promo code when you download it, Funkmaster, for your discount. Next up, Jay Clark. She TKO'd this girl twice. Fun fight, round 3. The fight should have been stopped. Chris Tognoni made a big mistake. He started the fight. I do believe he deemed it an illegal knee. Alpar did not look like she wanted to continue, but the fighter within her forced her to not bow out of the fight. You get an opportunity to continue the fight. It's just like, well, you never know what can happen. We've seen this happen with Ed Herman and Rodriguez. Mike Rodriguez, I think his name is. He TKOs him. Well, he crushes him to the body. The ref says it's a low blow. And it's not a low blow. It gives him another opportunity. He comes back and he submits him with a Kimura in the third round. Same situation, except the rightful winner did get the hand raised. Dropped her with the knee. As she was going to sit to her butt, she caught her with the knee on the way down. So it's still legal. The ref stops the fight. Okay, he thinks it's a legal knee. But then, if it's an illegal knee, quote, how do you restart the fight in the same position that the foul was committed? That part made no sense to me. If I go for a takedown and you grab the cage, you don't restart the fight with me on top. So if I throw the illegal knee and I'm on my way down, why do you start the fight sitting with as if I scored a takedown? It didn't really make any sense to me. And if I was on top, if I took you down and you grabbed the cage and you pulled yourself up, okay, you're the ref, you stopped the fight. No. Hey, cabron, get back down there. We're gonna start this over. I hope cabron is not a sexual slur. I hope not. I don't even know. If it is, my bad. But hey, puta, get back down there. We're gonna restart this position. That's what the ref should have did. But that was not the case in this situation. That illegal knee, which in my eyes were legal, it should never have been stopped. That's one. And two, it should never have been restarted in that position. That girl was already taking a beating. At that point, she didn't want to be in the fight. You can tell when a fighter does not want to be in the fight. No matter how much they want to say that they want to in the moment, no one's going to punk out on international TV and say, I'm done, I quit. Unless you're that one kid who did that and just says, I don't got it, call it, whatever. That's a different story. But here, most fighters would just never do that. Most fighters. So let me clear that up. Most fighters would never quit in the middle of the fight when things are getting tough. So that, I don't know. I just feel torn for that girl because she took more of a beating than she needed to. I think as a coach, I don't know. Because as a coach, you probably think, maybe there's an opportunity that she could come back, get some time to recover and come back. She was out of it. She was rocked. That was a hard, significant strike. Fight-altering strike and facial rearranging strike where you could damage the orbital bone. I don't know what the extent of her damages were, but she was hurt. She was rocked clearly, and she was leaking profusely. So, yeah, she took more damage than she needed to. And I'm a big believer, man. Sometimes you got to live to fight another day. I'm not saying go out there and quit, but live to fight another day. And I'm looking at her typology. She doesn't have anything on her typology page, Sarah Alpar. Next fight, Mayra Bueno Silva against Barella. Man, there's so many good fights on this card. Fantastic armbar finish. Sitting in the triangle is Barella. Bueno Silva. Mayra Bueno Silva defeats Mara Barella. Barella gets the takedown, pushes the envelope, gets the fight to the ground. 2 minutes and 29 seconds in, Silva gets the tap via armbar. And what I didn't understand is why Barella didn't try to escape that triangle lockup. She had a loose triangle. Escape, stand up, elbows in, turn the elbows down, get a knee up the middle, use your elbows to frame, and posture up and get out of there. And then either look to pass with the strikes or just look to pass or just reset the position. But sitting in there with a loose triangle while Bueno Silva is just playing with your arms, pulling it in, pulling it over. She's transitioned from the lock triangle over the neck. Now, let's just say she had the left arm. I can't remember exactly which arm it was. I think it was the left arm that she had. But she had the loose triangle locked up. She had the right foot over the left. So that's the proper way you want to lock the triangle. So if I'm throwing up a triangle against your left arm, I want to have my right foot locking over my left where I'm clamping down. So she had that triangle set up right from the very beginning. And as she's setting up, she's pulling it in. She pulls the arm over. So she has the wrist control. She throws the right leg over and she arches in. She gets the armbar. Fantastico. Bueno. Bon dia. It was a beautiful finish. She transitioned, almost looked like Mackenzie's Dern armbar, where it looked like she was going for a go-go plata. But that's even way too. Okay, we're gonna get there soon. But this one was kind of similar, except she was off of her back, and it wasn't for a go-go plata, but she threw it over, and she was able to extend the arm and get the arm lock. Beautiful, beautiful jiu-jitsu, and I appreciate a good ground game. Now, Damon Jackson, about 3 days' notice or whatever it was, takes on Mirsad Bektic, a ranked opponent. Round 3, 1 minute, 21 seconds, and gets the guillotine finish after Bektic puts himself in these situations where I am just like, dude, you are such a talent, but you make some very questionable mistakes, and I just can't wrap my head around it. I don't even understand how you could have given yourself all these opportunities and still not understand that these are dangerous positions to be in. Now, he's lost to Darren Elkins, head kick via punches, in round 3, came back and dominated Bektic. Bektic came back and won 2 fights over Godofredo Pepe and Ricardo Lamas, split decision. Then he lost to Josh Emmett, big jab, got dropped in ground and pound. Round 1, Dan Ige, split decision. Then he lost to Damon Jackson, fourth loss of his career, third loss in a row. Just putting himself in these situations where it's just like, it's just kind of low fight IQ, in my opinion. He's still, what age is he? I still think he's relatively young. He's 29 years old, 5'8". He still has some time to correct these things. These are all fixable mistakes, and that's the good part about it, all this, for him. But if he wants to be in that upper echelon of the division and continue to have success, he's got to address some of these mental lapses that he's having out there. Now, Damon Jackson, very good grappler, as you can see. Why is my Wi-Fi not working? Oh, there it is. He's 18-3-1. He was in the UFC before. He's 32 years old, 5'11" with the 73-inch reach. Let's see. He was in the UFC. He lost to Yancy Medeiros. Reverse bulldog choke. He had a no contest to Ronnie Jason. He had a draw to Levan Makashvili. Majority draw. He got released after a canceled bout with Kevin Aguilar. I'm not sure if that was in the UFC or not. Went to Legacy, won 2 fights in a row, lost 1 to Kevin Aguilar, came back and won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fights at LFA and lost 1 at PFL to Movlid Kaibulaev. Jumping knee, round 1, 10 seconds in. Oh, not good. But then came back and beat Chulai at LFA again. Gets the short call up to take on Mirsad Bektic, a guy who is ranked, and takes out a highly ranked opponent. I can only imagine the emotions going through his head to have such a career up and down, not looking very promising, and it comes back and gets it done over a guy he was probably more than likely slated to lose against. no favors in taking the fight on 3 days' notice against a guy like Mirsad Bektic. He's been around the block, fought a lot of tough guys. And for him to come back and fight a guy like that and get it done on all the chaos around him and have success, very, very self-persevering. And kudos to him. But I will say, man, like, Bektic just put himself in that position so many times. I just really can't wrap my head around it. And one time in the third round, he starts to slow down. So all those muscles, they start to do what they do, man. They fade. You know, very anaerobic. You're allowed to explode only X amount of times before the natural human side of you has to slow down, which is what happens. Third round, you guys are working pretty hard. And eventually he gets the guillotine choke again. This time he's able to sweep him over into mount and eventually settles into position and gets the tap. That looked tight. He gets up. He says a couple of words to him. I'm not sure what he said. I'm going to assume Bektic probably talked a little trash before the fight. Maybe disrespect to him, saying something along the lines of, hey, I'm going to beat this guy's ass. He's taking on short notice. He's not ready for me. Or whatever the case may be. But that was a very pivotal moment. I don't know. It was very climatic for the fact that he was losing, had a dramatic ending. And for him to come back and win in that type of fashion, I think it's huge, and especially for him to get back into the UFC and get a big win in a huge way. Kind of reminded me of Julian Erosa taking on Charlotte Woodson, who was supposed to be the next big thing, which he still can, but he's supposed to be the next big thing, and no pun intended in terms of his height. He's like 6'4", fighting at 145. But he comes back against the odds in the same thing, like 2 days' notice, and gets the finish after taking a beating in the first 2 rounds and gets the submission in the third. Now, this next one, Jordan Espinosa versus David Dvorak. Dvorak wins, unanimous decision. It seemed like the kicks really took their toll on Jordan Espinosa, and that was tough to watch. So, I don't know. The fight wasn't very... It was kind of flatline, like it plateaued the whole time. Like it got to a certain level and then never really got any better. And I don't want to say it got any worse. It definitely didn't get any worse. It was very technical. But you could tell that leg of Espinosa was very compromised early on. And he looked good in the early beginning. Caught him with a clean right hand. I was like, maybe he's going to go out there and tattoo this kid who's making his debut in the UFC. And that wasn't the case. And sometimes it goes like that, man. Sometimes you just have a night that's just not for you. Next one, Kevin Holland, Darren Stewart. This was a fun fight, but I did say I think Darren Stewart had won. But I did get up a couple of times in that second round, so maybe I missed some things that when I came back, it looked like Stewart was having the better round. So maybe that's probably what happened. I have no idea. I would have to go back and watch it again. Round 3, we already know who won that. Kevin Holland, I thought clearly won the first round. It was close, but I thought he still did enough to clearly show he won the first round, in my opinion. He landed some really clean, crisp strikes. Good footwork. And I think for me, maybe it's just that second round I got to go rewatch and see who I think really got there. Should have gotten their hand raised. But either way, I wasn't mad at the decision either way. Now, this next one, Mackenzie Dern versus Randa Markos. She looked good. Submission round 1. Mackenzie Dern following up her performance from her last one. She's 9-1, only losing to Amanda Ribas by decision. That was UFC ESPN plus 19. Since then, she's rattled off 2 wins over Hannah Cyphers and Randa Markos. Now, this armbar transition. She gets the takedown. Now, not even get the takedown. She gets... I would have to see that whole transition again. I think she swept her. Because I know Randa followed her down to the ground. But either way... Highlights... Either way, I'm looking at the way I saw it. It's like fascinating because the way she transitioned over into that armbar, she started off what looked like a gogo plata. The foot's over the neck. And she transitions. And Markos is doing the right thing. She's trying to push the knee, keep the foot in between her legs. She's pinching the leg, which keeps you from getting the full leverage pressure. If Mackenzie Dern is able to pinch her knees together and then squeeze the hips and arch them forward and lift at the elbow joint. It puts on a significant amount of pressure on that joint. But she was trying to keep that left leg of Mackenzie Dern in between her legs, which keeps her from being able to do that. Now I'm sitting here and watching him like, you got to get the foot off the head. You got the one leg trap. Just get the foot off the head. Use your other hand. Put your hand underneath the crack of the knee so that there's less pressure pinning your head down while doing like a fulcrum, where it's like, I'm just trying. It's kind of like a lever. So I'm pulling down on the lever and pressuring up. Now, if you put the hand under the bottom of the lever can only go so far. So it only allows X amount of pressure on that elbow joint. So if she was able to do that and push that thigh or the crack of the knee off her head and swim her head to the outside, that arm bar is gone. And the only thing she would have had to have worried about was a triangle choke on her way up. But that wasn't the case. She eventually, Dern was able to throw a couple punches, keep readjusting that arm, cranking that fucking thing like it was Soulja Boy. And eventually, Markos loses the leg. And once she loses the leg, the submission is on. And from there, she tapped. And that went on pretty good. Now, I'm a huge BJJ practitioner. I love the sport. I find it fun. I find it very rewarding to attack limbs and attack chokes and trying to impose your will on somebody else and get them to say uncle, you know? So watching that fight was very rewarding for me, just to see a female fighter that is so high level on the ground. For me, it's a thing of beauty to watch. You don't see, I just feel like you don't see as many high level female athletes for BJJ as you do the males in BJJ. I think it's now starting to become a much hotter commodity in the female community, where a lot more females are being empowered to take BJJ, to learn self-defense, to be able to protect themselves, and competing at a high level amongst themselves. But now to see a female fighter in the UFC who can transition so beautifully on the ground from armbar to triangle, the go-go plotter, all these different attacks, to getting a knee bar finish like Mackenzie Dern, it's something to really sit back and appreciate, because again, I'm a BJJ, I don't want to say nerd, but I love the sport. I'm definitely a mat rat. And to see her go out there and do what she did and the way she did it was nothing short of spectacular. Spectacular. Next up, Johnny Walker versus Ryan Spann. Round 1, KO, 2 minutes, 43 seconds. This fight was wild from the beginning to end. Johnny Walker coming out getting cracked with a big right hand that he walked right into right out of the gate. Both guys had their moments. Ryan Spann, I'm not exactly sure why he was fishing for the takedown. Now, this is one of the things I was talking about with my guys. I said, had Ryan Spann shot in, kind of like Colby Covington, shot in at the waist and trapped the arm and then work his way down to the legs, those elbows to the head, those hammer fists to the head, they're non-existent. They're nullified. They're taken away. Now, hear what I'm saying. When you shoot in from a distance and you're on your knees and your opponent is able to stuff your head, now I have more leverage where I can lift the Thor of hammer, the Thor hammer, or should I say the hammer of Thor from above, and rain down these sledgehammer hammer fists. If you come up a little bit and start to beat my frame, now I can stuff with the forearm, and I got these elbows that I can start raining down in the temple and really crushing down, spreading my legs wide, so I'm getting a super wide base while you're stuffed, and I'm just crushing your head because I'm pinning it down with my free hand, one of my free hands. Now, if you look at Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley, when he shoots, he's up top. If you stuff the takedown, he'll shoot in from afar. If you pull him up and then you hit the cage, he'll come up top to a 50-50 clinch. Now there's no elbows because his head is right here. It's under your neck. You can't really, you can't. All you can do is throw these little slap things. You're not going to be able to get no hammer of Thor, sledgehammer, hammer fist shots in whatsoever. So Colby will go from the top, then he'll work down, He'll work the underhand, the underhook. He'll trap the wrist. He'll pin it underneath him, and then he'll slide his outside hand, which is the overhook side. He'll slide that down to the leg, and from there, you're worried about the takedown and using your underhook as opposed to using that hand to start to throw strikes. It just doesn't make any sense. You're just not in the right position. If you start going for that, I'm gonna have to really challenge and question your fight IQ. Like, what are you doing? You defend the takedown because you're in a position that you can't throw those strikes legally, and you can't throw those strikes with any type of real threat on it. So that is the one tidbit of a fix I think Ryan Spann could do and come back stronger, better. I do think he had a serious run. I thought that was his fight for the taking. I think Walker still makes a few mistakes. And again, I tweeted this. I'm like, I just don't know what to think about Johnny Walker or even Ryan Spann. Like, both guys are really good. Or not even really good. Both guys are talented. I think what makes Johnny Walker dangerous is that he's super explosive and very unpredictable. That's what makes him dangerous. Now, if we're talking a technique for techniques, like by the playbook, if you see him hitting pads, kind of like a MMA combine, so to speak, even though that's non-existent. But if you see someone like on the pads, how they throw their kicks, the form, how they're stepping their feet, are they crowding themselves, are they keeping themselves at a distance, are they rotating the hip and pivoting, are they throwing the left hook and turning it over? It just really depends. Are they shooting with their head up or head down? They're doing arm bars. Are they stuffing the head and pinning the legs? Are they scissoring the leg as opposed to clamping down on the head? There's a lot of little things like that you can watch and be like, all right, I can see that this kid, he's got it. They got it. She's got it. Whatever. But with this one, I can't really say that about Johnny Walker or Ryan Spann. I think Spann is good. He's got power. They're big boys. I think Johnny Walker's good. He's got power. They're big boys. But in terms of the technical standpoint, where if they have to fight a guy, we saw Walker when he fought Corey Anderson, it's just a different level, man. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And obviously, those weight classes are a little bit different because it only takes one shot. So maybe it's like, well, technique doesn't matter as much. Yeah, and maybe it doesn't, but it does all at the same time, depending on what you're really trying to accomplish. You want to be a better mixed martial artist, or you want to just be a guy that's just known, like, if I land first, I'm going to win. Like, so it's kind of like pick your poison kind of thing. I'm not saying be super technical where you forget about the other stuff, but you can have a mixture of all those things. So again, I'm still have a couple of questions about Johnny Walker's entire game that I'm just not quite sold on. And this is why I couldn't put money on him. I just know he's very dangerous and unpredictable, which is why I wouldn't put money on him. Because at the same time, I know there's room for error for him to kind of just get caught, which we've seen. Or there's the chance of that wild, what do you even call it? That just wildness of him just catching the guy. You just never know. So that fight's for me is just like one that I'm just like, yeah, I just really don't know how to call this one. Now this next one, Khamzat Chimaev, Gerald Meerschaert, KO in 17 seconds. Jesus, man. Now I tweeted this. I was trying to give Meerschaert some love. I like Meerschaert. I'm a fan of his. I think he's got really good jiu-jitsu. Seems like a really cool dude whenever I've talked to him. Dude Rufus guy. Solid ground game. I'm a guy who goes for the guys that are good on the ground, and I try to give him try to pump him up a little bit to the fans so that, the hype behind Chimaev isn't lost on him and he gets no respect or love whatsoever. And almost as soon as I tweet that, as soon as I spell check it, make sure everything is correct, the fight's over. The fight's freaking over. He gets caught with a right hand. Chimaev cuts him off, times him, paws out with the jab, and it looks like he's throwing a hook, and then it turns back in and it goes into a straight. Bink. Right on the chin. He goes down. He lands maybe 2 more punches after that, and the fight's over. And I'm just like, yeah, this guy is good. I watched him train in Vegas. I had the pleasure of watching him train in Vegas. I wasn't sitting there just watching him. I was doing my own workout, but I got to watch him, look over, glance to see what Khamzat is all about. The guys he fought, it's easier when a high-level grappler comes in. There's high-level grapplers that can come in from the wrestling world right now and probably beat up a lot of UFC fighters. Quote me on that. Because if they get the takedown, you are fucked. You know? So I saw Hamza and I'm like, maybe this is just a very favorable matchup. Maybe he's just confident on the feet because you see he throws a big body kick. My man catches it, Phillips or whatever his name is, catches it, and he takes him down, and from there he just gets ragdolled until the TKO comes. And then the other guy just had no answer for him whatsoever. You know, he threw a couple bombs and shot in, took him down, and did the same exact thing. This one, he comes out, he shows the power that he has. And me watching him in Vegas, I'm like, this guy is quick. He's got great reaction time, really good reflexes, very good grappling. He knows how to 2-on-1 wrist control. And what's better than that? We've seen Khabib, he's 28-0, if I'm not mistaken. He's very, very reminiscent of Khabib outside of the one-punch KO kind of thing. But obviously, he's a lot bigger of a guy. You know, you land that type of punch that fast with someone, you could put the lights out. And I'm not saying Khabib can't do that, but if he walks someone down and he just throws a right hand and you don't even see it coming, I'm pretty sure Khabib could put some people down to himself. So he just hasn't actually done it just of yet in the UFC. So that's the difference. But he is a special talent in Hamza Chimaev. I do think he's going to give a lot of people fits. I don't think a fight with Damian Maia is anything that I want to see right now. I can't make any sense of that type of matchup for multiple reasons. Maia is on the downswing of his career. He's older. He's getting slower. And this is just what Father Time. This is just the inevitable. He's getting slower. Downswing of his career. Lost a couple. Still can compete with some of the best guys out there in the world. But let's be honest here. For him to take a fight with a young killer, for what reason? There is nothing to gain. And there's no shame in that. If I'm 40, 42, I don't plan on fighting that long. But if I ever did, and the UFC is telling me, hey, we got this 23, 24, 25, 26-year-old. Yeah, he's a stud, but we want him to fight you because, you know, you got a big name and all, big following. We know if they tune in to watch this, we can really catapult this guy into the limelight the way we want to. Hey, Dana, Shelby, Mick, thank you, but I'm good. You know, let me know where the old man's club is, and I'll go fight one of these older veterans. I'm good. You know, fighting hurts, especially when you get older. Those pains, those bruises, they tend to take a little bit longer to heal, and I think at Damian Maia's age, there's nothing for him to gain in taking this type of matchup other than saying, oh, for the glory. Dude, fuck that. Your health is wealth. Go fight somebody else. Let this kid go fight another killer. You got Ponzinibbio. You got Neil Magny. You got Leon Edwards. You got Gilbert Burns, who's actually fighting for the title. You got Colby Covington. You got Tyron Woodley, even though I personally, I got another. Okay, whatever. You got Tyron Woodley, Gunnar Nelson. There's a lot of other guys he can fight, which would be fun fights. But for right now, I don't want to see him fighting Damian Maia. Guy's a real deal. He just went up to 185. Was a smaller guy, clearly in there. And he just handled business like a man. Excuse me. Handled business like a straight up G, man. The guy is a fun fighter to watch, and he's gonna be around for a while. So people better get used to him and learn how to say his name. Hamzat Chimaev. Next fight, Donald Cerrone versus Nico Price. This fight ends in a draw. Fun fight, back and forth. I thought the fight was going to be over in the first round. Nico Price with the 3 eye pokes, and then Donald poked him. They had a double eye poke. Zoink! Kind of like the Three Stooges. So that one kind of negated each other. But at the end of the day, this fight goes to the draw, meaning Nico Price would have won this fight if it wasn't for the illegal eye pokes. Even though Nico Price's face looked a heck of a lot more beat up than Donald Cerrone's, which was fascinating to even see. With all the scar tissue that Cerrone's got, I didn't know Nico was that scarred up himself. But he actually just did fight not too long ago, and it was a tough fight where he had one eye shot. I want to say that was against Vicente Luque, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got 5 kids, so I understand why Vicente Luque, round 3, and that was in May 9th. Not that long ago, not that close either, but whatever. whatever. Fun fight either way, and I think the fans definitely won with that one. And maybe it's time for Cerrone to consider hanging him up, but he competed in that first round. He's always been notorious for being a slow starter and then picking it up later as the fight goes on. I don't know what it is. It's like he needs to get slapped around a bit before he can actually realize, hey, I'm in a freaking fist fight. So maybe that's just what it is. But I also think he's getting up there in age. So it just might be that time, man, to just chill out. He's 36, 15, and 1. That's his first draw in his entire career. And he is 37 years old. But right now he's on a 4-fight losing skid outside of that draw. So it's a draw, then a 4-fight losing skid. And he was on his way to losing that if it weren't for the eye pokes. Now, the main event, Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley. Oh, man. Now, I don't want to take anything from Colby Covington, but we have to be honest here. Tyron Woodley has not shown up to fight in 15 rounds, and that is saying something. He's not the young killer that came out for blood. He's 38 years old. He's 5'9", losing to Covington, Burns, and Usman. Almost all in the same identical fashion. Just not throwing any strikes, not letting his hands go, not trusting himself, being hesitant, being nervous, whatever you want to call it. But what I'm going to call it is he just did not show up. The Tyron Woodley that murdered Josh Koscheck, crushed Carlos Condit's legs with kicks and caused an ACL injury. I'm not sure if that was pre-existing or not. Had a competitive fight with Roy McDonald, even though, Roy dictated the pace of that fight for the most part. Knocked out Dong Young Kim, beat Kelvin Gastelum in a split decision, crushed the boogeyman in Robbie Lawler, and went 2 crazy fights with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, even though they were both slow until the high points where he threw something and caught Wonderboy. And obviously we saw the one where he kind of laid an egg against the Damian Maia, which being overly cautious in that one. And Darren Till, where he came back and caught Darren Till, because Darren Till honestly ran right into that punch and got himself dropped against Tyron Woodley. So trying to not be biased here, because I love Woodley. He's the homie, super cool dude, very respectable person, and fun guy to just be around with, man. He's got good character, fun, like I said, just fun person. Could brighten up the mood. For me, I watched those previous fights and I see a lot of similarities. I think in all those fights, they were all reminiscent of each other until he catches you with one strike, the big right hand. Now, if he doesn't catch you with the big right hand, a lot of his fights, they look like that, where there's a lot of circling, a lot of watching, him against his back foot against the black line against the cage, and then eventually he sprints forward, he throws the haymaker. If he catches you, great. If not, then you go back to the center and kind of just rinse and repeat. Now, we've seen the same exact show for 15 rounds, and honestly, like I said, I think these fights are very similar to the other ones. It's just the other ones he happens to have caught the guys and get the win. Not using his wrestling, not being aggressive, not being assertive. And again, I don't want to take anything from Colby Covington, because this is the same way Usman won his belt. He did the same exact thing as Colby Covington, and that's how Usman got the title. Gilbert Burns did the same exact thing, except out of all 3 of these opponents, I think Gilbert Burns did the most damage in terms of the striking department. And then when he did get Woodley down, I think he did the most damage on top as well. Even though Colby did bust him up, you can say he caused the rib injury from all those body kicks that he was throwing, which were a lot. And then that big takedown, which probably dropped right onto Woodley's rib and caused him to scream out in the pain. You can make an argument that Covington and Burns did more damage than Usman. It sounds weird to say, but if you watch those fights in terms of damage, I would have to say the more significant strikes were landed by Burns and Covington in their respective fights with Tyron Woodley than Usman's fight with Tyron Woodley. And you can't do MMA math. Every fight style is different. Covington's got a style where he just pushes you up against the cage. If he takes you down, he tries to, he's kind of like a Chael Sonnen 2.0. He just maybe a little bit better striking on the feet. So that's just kind of the way I look at this. And again, I can't take anything from Covington because these guys both did the same exact thing. And they were deemed the next big guys. So why is Colby Covington not up there with those guys as well? It'd be it would be kind of, I don't want to say shameful, but be us kind of discrediting his body of work. Although he says some outlandish shit in the media, outside the cage, outside the octagon, I do respect Colby Covington's fight game, his pedigree. He's well-rounded. He's durable as shit, and he's willing to put his face on the line to get his takedowns, to strike with you. He's legitimately ready to go to battle, war, whatever you want to call it, with just about anybody at this point in his career. We've seen it with Damian Maia. He let Damian Maia look like a striking technician, where Damian Maia should have had no business in tagging up Colby Covington like that. And Colby's not the biggest welterweight at all. If you look at his frame in comparison to all these other guys, he's just tall and slender. And for some reason, some way, somehow, he makes up for it with his cardio and his tenacity. So in that regards, I have to give him respect where credit is due. And then on that same note, the shit he said about Woodley being a communist and all this other stuff, that was just bizarre. Very, very mind-blowing. And I really did not get where he was going with that whatsoever. But it is what it is. I'm not here to play politicians, but I just find it very strange when people start to do stuff like that. And yeah, that was one of those strange moments right there. So again, congrats to Colby Covington and getting the win. I made a joke about this is Obama versus Trump, but if anything, Obama versus Trump would have been Usman versus Colby Covington. It was a joke. My friend said that. They was like, yo, this one's for the culture. Woodley can't let us down. They sent like a GIF video saying of a dog shaking his head saying, really, he's like, this is how we're going to look at him if he let this guy beat him. And, it was pretty funny. Like, these are inside jokes. I'm sharing them with the world. Obviously, people are now on the inside of my group. But again, it wasn't meant to be anything political or racial. And some people were starting to talk about, oh, you're talking about black versus white. I'm like, I didn't say that. You guys did. All I said, I'm talking about the politicians, the POTUSes, and that's it. We're talking about one guy who's Democratic versus the other guy who's Republican. That was it. It wasn't a black and white thing. People made it into that conversation. But that's just what people do. They read headlines or they read a few words and they come up with their crazy conclusions to storylines and stuff, and they just make up their own scenarios of what they think the person meant or what they think the person means, and that's just kind of where things are at. But it is what it is. All right, so that was this weekend's card. The next weekend's card, UFC 253. This one is huge and huge, people. Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Now, this is going to be a huge fight for the division. Obviously, it's for the title. The world title shot is on the line. But like we said before, last week is now finally in the books, and it's time to review the tape to prepare for this weekend. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code FunkMaster for a limited time. New users can get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes this week. Don't miss out on the Week 3 action. Enter code FunkMaster to get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes with your first deposit. That's code FunkMaster only at DraftKings. Make it rain. Go make it rain. Minimum of $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Now, if you guys don't know who DraftKings are, they are a one-day fantasy sports booking agency. Go check them out, DraftKings.com. All you have to do is pick from any type of pool. Some pools are $10, $100, $1,000, $1 million. You check out the pool. You make your salary lineup by staying under the salary cap. You pick your 6 players, 6 fighters, and whoever wins the pool wins the pot. Go check them out, DraftKings.com. Use my promo code FunkMaster. Now, again, this is a big fight card. We're going to just touch base on predominantly the main card. Now, right now, as I'm seeing it, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 fights as opposed to last week's 14. So, with this is still a pretty good amount of fights. Usually it's like 11 or 12 for the most part. This one's going back to Abu Dhabi. The fights that I want to touch on, the Shane Young kid, he's taking on Ludwig Klein. Ludwig Klein is 25 years old. Don't know his reach yet. He's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak right now. Last win was head kick, punches, one decision, punches, doctor stoppage, and head kick. So he has 3 head kicks finishes out of those 7 wins. So that is a big feather in his cap. He was fighting for predominantly Octagon. I don't know what promotion that is. ACB and Octagon. I'm believing that's going to be overseas somewhere. And he's taking on Shane Young, who is 13-4, who I like because he has he brings a ton of tenacity to the game. So I respect Shane Young a ton. I think he's a scrapper. He's 27 years old. He's 5'8" with a 72.5-inch reach. Now, he's over there training with those guys at City Kickboxing over in New Zealand, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Also on this card is Diego Sanchez versus Jake Mathews. Now, the one thing I like about this, Diego Sanchez, I'm hoping that, I know he was talking about this is going to be his last fight or something like that. I'm hoping that this is going to be his last fight. I don't think he should be fighting much longer. He's the last of the Mohicans in the UFC Tough 1. Now, where is Sanchez? Diego Sanchez is $6,800 on your DraftKings salary. And I think that's a good bang for your buck if you're looking to join the DraftKings pick. He's taking on Jake Mathews at 170. Both guys coming up from 155 pounds. Jake Mathews is 26 years old with a 72-inch reach, and he's 5'11". Diego Sanchez, 38. Oh, he's only 38. He's 5'10", and he has a 72-inch reach. But he's been fighting, forever, since 2002 against Michael Johnson, Ring of Fire. I wonder if this is the same Michael Johnson. Let's see. Nope, different Michael Johnson from Oklahoma. I don't know who that guy is. But 2002, he made his pro debut in June 21st. His record is 30-12. Now, again, Diego Sanchez is 6,800 and Jake Mathews is 9,400 for the DraftKings salary. So that shows a big discrepancy, thinking that Jake Mathews is more than likely going to get the finish over Diego Sanchez is what people are suggesting. Mathews on a 2-fight win streak over Emil Meek, Rostem Akman, and before that losing to Anthony Rocco Martin by Anaconda choke in round 3. Now, we all know Diego Sanchez is super durable. We know if he gets the fight to the ground, he has some vicious ground and pound still left in him. You know, he's got a lot of weird stuff going on around him right now with the whole training camp and the new guys that he's with, having only one guy in the corner and the guy saying all this kind of crazy stuff. I'm a Diego Sanchez fan. I don't really follow a lot of guys outside of the octagon. You know, I'm just a fan of your body of work as an athlete. I've always been like that. I've never had guys that I looked up to. I just never did. With that being said, I can't really speak on the antics that have been going on that people keep talking about. Because, again, I've never been one into that kind of stuff. But allegedly it's a big issue. So we'll see. I guess it's kind of like his Ito Portal for Conor McGregor or whatnot. But this should be a fun fight. I think Jake Mathews has really good submission skills. He's coming up. He's looking like he's filled out into his weight class at 170. Diego Sanchez is not the biggest welterweight, but I think this is going to be a similar, I don't want to say body type. Jake Mathews is clearly a lot younger, but Diego Sanchez still has the veteran experience. And although he might seem a little crazy to people, he can still scrap and he can still throw down. So I'm not sure who I'm leaning towards on this one. if I smart money, I feel like Jake Mathews is not going to fade, kind of like Mickey Gall did in his previous fight with Diego Sanchez for whatever reason that was. I know he said something happened to him, but I just can't see Jake Mathews having the same unfortunate faith and letting Diego Sanchez catch up and come back from behind and getting the finish. Next up, Brad Riddell taking on Alex de Silva. Another guy from City Kickboxing is Brad Riddell. He's 8-1. They call him Quake. He's 28 years old. He's 5'7", with the 71.5-inch reach. He's on a 5 fight win streak. The last one coming over Magomed Mustafayev, split decision, which was actually a fun fight. Very, very fun fight. And he's taking on Alex de Silva, who is Brazilian, 24 years old. He's 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. And he's on a 1-fight win streak right now on decision against Rodrigo Vargas. Before that, he lost to Yakovlev, Alexander Yakovlev, in round 2 with a guillotine choke. And before that, he was on a 2-fight win streak at Serbian Battle Championship in Aspera FC. Now, what's this guy's name again? It's De Silva. De Silva is 7,000 for your DraftKings lineup, and Brad Riddell is 9,200 for the DraftKings lineup. So, man, so the one thing about this, you score points for significant strikes, you score points for takedowns. So if a guy's a takedown machine, he gets multiple takedowns in the fight, you could rack up some big points really quick. If you have to score significant strikes, you get like half a point or something like that. So it really depends on who you guys think are going to land the better strikes or finish early and that type of thing, on how these guys score points for you in your DraftKings lineup. So make sure you check these guys out so you get all the inside information that you need. But this should be a fun fight. Brad Riddell being high on the DraftKings card at 9,200 lets you know that for him, the odds makers are having him as a big point scorer, and he can help. And he'll reach that salary cap a lot faster than some of these other guys. Now, De Silva is 7,000. Next fight, Hakeem Dawodu versus Zabari Tukhugov. This is going to be a great fight. 19-4-1. Zabari, 29 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach. He's from Grozny, Russia. Trains with Khabib and all those guys. That's like their brotherhood. His last fight, he beat Kevin Aguilar via punches in round 1. He had a draw with Leon Murphy in Leon Murphy's UFC debut. Fun fight. Got dominated early, came back and tied it all up. So kudos to Leon Murphy being able to battle back from adversity like that and against a very tough and seasoned veteran like Tukhugov. Now, before that, he lost to Renato Moicano via split decision. Now, I like Tukhugov. Tukhugov is coming in at 8,200 on your DraftKings lineup. I think sometimes he takes his time a little bit too much, and he can sit there and watch his opponent as opposed to going after them with his quick twitch muscles and explosiveness. He has pretty solid wrestling. We see when he takes guys down, he does very well at controlling the top position, kind of like a Khabib, and that's what makes him very dangerous because he has some pretty solid ground and pound as well. Now, Dawodu, very wide, very stout, jack dude, 145, Jamaican. I see a guy always repping the flag, 5'8", 72-inch reach, and he's 29 years old, training out of Canada. Born in Canada, at least that's what it says. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Julio Arce split decision, head kick over Hori in round 3. Kyle Bochniak split decision, and Austin Arnett unanimous decision in a 3-round affair. Before that, he lost to Danny Henry, guillotine choke in round 1. And before that, Steven Seiler, Magomedov, he beat all those guys by decision. And Magomedov, he beat him by punches in round 2. So Dawodu scores some points. So this makes this one a little bit more interesting in terms of the DraftKings lineup, whether or not he's going to be on your DraftKings lineup pick for your guys for the lineup for the salary cap. He's coming in at $8,000, and Tukhugov is coming at $8,200. Both guys I think are fantastic picks, and I'm not sure which way this fight's going to go, but I can see Zabari trying to take down Dawodu and maintain control. Dawodu's got some good kickboxing. Seems like a big, heavy striker, explosive. He seems physically imposing, and he always makes that mean mugging face. It's just like Hakeem Mean Dawodu, Mean something. Yeah, Hakeem Mean Dawodu. That's what his nickname is. He's 11-1-1. So that's going to be a good fight to watch. Next up, we have Kai Kara-France versus Brandon Royval. Now, Kai Kara-France, another guy at City Kickboxing, 125. He's 28. He's 21, 8-0. 8-0 and 0. No draws, so he has 21 wins, 8 losses. Let me stop butchering this. 21 wins, 8 losses. Nickname Don't Blink. He's 27. He's 5'4" with a 66.5-inch reach. On a one-fight win streak over Tyson Nam by decision, and he lost to Brandon Moreno by unanimous decision in a fight that really went back and forth. I honestly thought he kind of. I remember doing the podcast and that one was really close, and I could see why Kai Kara-France could have gotten the win, and I could also see why Moreno got the. He fights like this where he's just like, and then he's boom, boom, boom. That was a fun fight. Very, very fun fight. Kai Kara-France coming at $8,900 on your DraftKings lineup, taking on Brandon Royval, who is coming at $7,300 for your DraftKings lineup. Now, if you remember, Brian Royval came in, made his UFC debut, big splash in the division. I do believe he's now, 1-0 in the UFC, took on Tim Elliott and submitted him in round 2 in arm triangle choke. Finisher. This guy is a submission wizard. And it's not like he's the most technical submission artist, but he's dangerous off of his back. He's dangerous from all positions because he's not willing to pull guard. He's not willing to jump for submissions and attack limbs when he sees something on the ground that he can go for. He's like a dog on a bone. Nate Williams, he submitted him in LFA, 23 seconds in round 1. Armbar finish over Jacoby Sanchez at LFA. He lost to Casey Kenny by decision, and that's a guy who's strong, a good compact wrestler, and Casey Kenny just maintaining top position. I can imagine that's how the fight went. So he's beat a lot of guys, man, and a lot of finishes by submission. Royval is 5'9". He's 28 years old with a 70.5-inch reach. His nickname is Raw Dog. His nickname is Raw Dog. He's coming at 7,300 on your DraftKings lineup, which I'm actually surprised he's not a little bit higher on the poll. And Kai Kara-France is coming in at 8,900. I guess they're thinking significant strikes. Kai Kara-France scores points, and he's probably going to be the guy out there putting together a striking clinic. And Royval is probably going to be looking to get the fight to the ground. But do not sleep on Royval on the feet. He's been tightening a lot of things up with James Krause and those guys with Mark Montoya over at Factory X. And I can see him utilizing his range and those long calf kicks from the outside against Kai Kara-France. Dominic Reyes versus John Blachowicz. Now, title fight. Both guys finally getting a shot at UFC gold. John Jones is vacating the division. Blachowicz is coming in at $7,200 for your DraftKings pick. And Dominic Reyes is coming in at $9,000. Let's start with Dominic Reyes. He is 12-1, only losing to John Jones. If I remember, it was a unanimous decision. It wasn't even a split decision. That's kind of crazy. 30 years old, 6'4", 77-inch reach. And before that, he was pretty much a finisher. He beat Chris Weidman knockout. He beat Ozdemir split decision. St. Bruce decision. He beat Connor knockout. Kimball, rear naked choke, punches, head kick, KO, guillotine choke, KO. So this guy is a finisher. He goes out there. He's looking to get it done, get out of that fight unscathed as much as he can. Coming in at $9,000 on your DraftKings salary lineup. He had a back and forth fight with John Jones. Big, strong southpaw. Good left cross. And we saw a lot of tenacity come out of him in that fight with John Jones. Really trying to hunt John down as best as he could. Chasing John Jones around the octagon at some points. I will say he did take his foot off of the gas a little bit. And I understand why he didn't win the fight. And I understand why people think he did win the fight. So it's just one of those things where it's just like sometimes you just got to do a little bit more and you to get the more that you want, because you can't expect. I mean, you can be angry, but you can't really be angry if you didn't put out a little bit more effort, so to speak. And I don't mean that in any type of disrespectful way. Same thing. I've had split decision losses. I was like, man, if I just done a little bit more, I could have had that win. And it's kind of the same thing when you look back at it, it kind of bites you in the ass a little bit. But at the end of the day, man, it was still a fantastic fight. And I think we're in for a treat with this one. Now, when you look at John Blachowicz, his last fight with Corey Anderson, the way he took him out, timed that I want to say it was a cross, that he caught Corey throwing an inside leg kick, timed it perfectly, boom, smacked him, took him down, and got him out of there. Finished him with a right hook in the round one, and then he beat Souza in a split decision, Jacare, in a fight that was very lackluster. And I think both guys were just super hesitant because I think Blachowicz knew if he got taken down that the odds of him getting back up or defending a submission probably were relatively low. So Jacare coming up to 205 and both guys having so much respect for each other that both guys did a whole lot of nothing. That's just how the fight goes sometimes. And again, it goes back to that thing like I just said before. It's like you look at that and you could be like, I could have done a little bit more. You could have, but you didn't because of what you feared on the other end of something. So you never really put yourself out there to take that chance. And before that, he beat Luke Rockhold. Left hook and finished him with ground and pound. Only losing to Thiago Santos via punches in round 3. Thiago Santos did get his title shot, and he came back and rattled off 3 wins. So in those 3 wins, he had 2 finishes, and I can see why the DraftKings lineup has him at... I can see why they have him at the 7,200. They probably don't think he scored a whole lot of points. When you look at that fight with Jacare Souza, he didn't do a whole lot of anything to be like, he didn't score any points or anything. So I can see why they're probably like, maybe he's not as active as we think. And again, I'm just talking. I don't know exactly why the DraftKings makers make the lineup the way they make the lineup in terms of the cost. So I really have no idea. But this is just my speculation. Like, you're not going to give the guy who finishes a low count because then it's like everyone's going to put them on the lineup. So you got to kind of be calculated in your picks to see who's going to score you the most points and that type of thing. I think that's how it works. Now, in this one, I'm not really sure who I'm leaning with. If I had to say between the stiffer competition, just looking at Blachowicz, Corey Anderson, Souza, Rockhold, Thiago Santos, Krylov, Jamie Manuel, Cannonier, Devin Clark, Pat Cummins, Gustafsson. Man, he lost a lot of guys coming back. And came back and he reinvented himself. So, with that being said, man, Cannonier, he finished Cannonier in punches. It just seems like Dominic Reyes goes for a little bit more just based on how their past performances have gone. But Reyes had a pretty quick rise to the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 fights in the UFC where Blachowicz, man, he's been in the UFC for a minute now. He fought Ilir Latifi in his first fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 fights in the UFC versus 6. I do think experience plays a big factor. He fought Jimmy Manuel Man twice. First time he lost the decision. Second time he came back and won his decision. Anderson beat him by decision, came back, knocked out Corey Anderson. He beat Ilir Latifi, so he's not going to get grappled to death. He lost to Pat Cummins by majority decision. Gustafsson, he lost to him, decision. So it's a tough, this is a tough one. He beat Nikita Krylov by submission, who typically submits guys. I like the upset here for a Blachowicz with 7,200. I do like him for that. I'm not saying Dominic Reyes can't lace him with one of those laser left crosses, but I do think he's more battle tested. And I think he's a big body guy for 205. I don't know. I'm going with Blachowicz for the upset. I don't know. That's just how I'm feeling right now. And the main event, we got Israel Adesanya, who is a perfect 19-0. The last stylebender. 31 years old, 6'4", with the 80-inch reach. Coming in at the lineup at 8,500 on the DraftKings dollars. Paulo Costa is 7,700 on the DraftKings lineup. And he is a perfect 13-0. The last time I remember 2 undefeated fighters fighting in the UFC was Lyoto Machida versus Rashad Evans, and that was at the light heavyweight division, 205. This one's at 185. Machida won that matchup. It was welcome to the Dragon era, the Machida era, Joe Rogan said. Now the eraser, Paulo Costa, is 29 years old, 61, 6 feet 1 inch, 6 feet and 1 inch tall. 6 feet and 1 inch tall. He's 6'1". Who says 6 feet and 1 inch tall? He's 70. Has a 72-inch reach. So he's got these much shorter, compact arms that are blown up like a balloon versus Adesanya, super long, 80-inch reach. Expected gadget arms. I can see Costa cutting off Adesanya and catching him against the cage, bum rushing him, and him doing that. I can see Costa getting caught while bum rushing Adesanya and getting caught by running into the car crash. The car crash is when one person is coming forward, other person is throwing a strike, and you come forward into it, thus increasing the impact and multiplying how devastating that impact can be. So with that being said, I don't know who the fuck I'm supposed to pick. I don't know. This is a hard one, man. This is a hard decision to make. Oh, man. I'm looking at this and I'm just like, he had a tough time with Uriah Hall. Uriah utilizing his jab. And Uriah staying on his bike until he started getting caught to the body. And eventually he got caught one good time. Punch. I forgot what punch it was. Maybe an uppercut that caught Uriah clean. And he kind of like turned. If I remember correctly, he turned away, went down. But there's no shame in that. It's freaking Paulo Costa. Guy's huge. You got to look at this guy. I think Adesanya said it best. He was like this blown up Ricky Martin. It's actually hilarious. You know, I think it's the funniest comparison. But I understand what he's trying to say. He's a big freaking dude. And you look at, he beat Yoel Romero, Uriah Hall, Johnny Hendricks, Aluwale Bangbos, Gareth McLeland, whoever the hell that is. And before that, he fought all his other fights in jungle fights, pretty much, in Brazil. All finishes. This one says win. I don't know if it's a finish. Doctor stoppage, punches, KO, rear naked choke, punches. 100% finishing rate. Adesanya did let some of them go to a decision, which is understandable. Even in the beginning of his MMA career, he's got a lot of his kickboxing fights on here. Decision, TKO, decision, punches, knees, KO, body kick. Yeah, man. So it's this is a tough one to call. He beat Yoel Romero in a very, very lackluster fight. Very polar opposite from the Paulo Costa Yoel Romero fight. Very, very polar opposite. I'm hoping that's not the case with this one, because I do think Costa is going to be a man of his word, and he's going to attack Adesanya and not give him the chance to dictate the pace of the fight by sitting on the outside. And I do believe it takes two to tango. So it takes Costa to come forward, and it takes Adesanya being able to use his footwork, being a matador, trying to pivot around that and try to catch Costa coming in and light him up, which is going to give us a very, very fun fight. Whether you guys believe it or not, I think that last fight, you know, sometimes you have a dud, and people kind of got to remember that not every fight can be this barn burner that we want. The Israel versus Gastelum fight, the Israel versus Robert Whittaker fight, we can't have those all the time. The Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa fight, I'm very interested to see if Paulo Costa is really going to take that approach in the bigger cage, where there's a lot more mobile room for Adesanya to utilize space to maneuver around his opponent. Not sure. The smaller cage, I thought when I saw the date, I thought they were fighting at the Apex, and I was like, this is crazy. Paulo Costa in the cage chasing that man down in there is going to be something freakishly hilarious to watch and scary to watch all at the same time. Because that guy is going to be swinging some bombs, some nuclear missiles in his arms. I'm looking forward to this one. And I know people always say Costa doesn't quite pass the eye test. Probably doesn't. That's not my... And I can say I don't think he passed the eye test whatsoever. But I'm not USADA or anything. He's apparently passed all these tests and whatever. You know, I got a couple of guys in my weight class that I think the same thing about. And I would never, ever know. Now, remember, Paulo Costa is coming in at 7,700 for your DraftKings lineup pick, and Adesanya is coming at 8,500. If I'm making a pick on this, I'm going with Israel Adesanya to get it done. I think he's got the heart and the tenacity and the experience to outmaneuver Paulo Costa, and I think it's going to come down to cardio. Can Paulo Costa keep up that pace for 5 rounds that he did with Yoel Romero? That's going to be the telltale. Now, again, Uriah Hall did have a lot of success against Paulo Costa with the jab, and that's one of the things that kind of has me a little bit concerned for Paulo Costa if he's made that adjustment to be able to get around that, because he's got the much shorter reach where, I'm looking at Uriah Hall now. He has a 79.5-inch reach where Paulo Costa has a 72-inch reach, and Adesanya has an 80-inch reach. So half inch longer, a little bit more agile on the feet, and I'm going to say probably better kickboxing experience or better kickboxing pedigree. So I'm just fascinated. I'm just curious to see how this one plays out. And we're going to find out in a couple of days, which I'm very, very excited about, because this is going to be a fun fight. 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 All right. That is our picks, guys. Go download the DraftKings app now and use promo code FUNKMASTER for a limited time. New users get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes this week. Don't miss out on the Week 3 action. Enter code FUNKMASTER to get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes with your first deposit. That's code FUNKMASTER only at DraftKings. Go make it rain. Minimum deposit of $5 required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you like my shit, subscribe to my shit or spin it back fist, baby. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Stay safe and go get a workout in. Peace.